because joy is an act of resistance.
Absolutely.
And so don't let anything take your joy, but and seek it actively. I really believe in that.
I'm Cindy Beasley, and welcome to Producer's Cut, where we get into who they really are when the cameras stop rolling. Today's guest truly needs no introduction, but I must pay homage and respect to journalism royalty. Robin Robinson is a veteran news anchor, passionate storyteller, and fearless advocate of the truth. If you're from Chicago, you likely grew up watching her command the screen on Fox News, where her voice and presence defined television news for nearly 3 decades. How could she not own the space, as undeniably she was born into journalism, being the daughter of Louis Robinson, former West Coast editor of Ebony magazine. Away from the anchor desk for quite some time now, she still commands the energy of every stage she touches, in any room that she's in. In current day, she'll tell you that she's failing miserably at retirement, as she still runs her own communications company, Birdland Media, MCs some of the most profound events across industries, and still finds herself at home in front of the camera, like podcasts and other news. Dozens more accolades and awards to mention, but one of the most profound is being a voice for the people that has shaped how Chicagoans view their city. She is a true testament to the power of storytelling rooted in community. A mother, grandmother, trusted sister, and a friend. A Leo through and through, my fire sign sister indeed. More importantly, one of my favorite people in this entire world. I say it often, and I don't know if she believes me, but she is my hero. Robin Robinson, how are you today?
Oh my God, keep going. Keep
going.
Okay. I love to hear what you've written. I'm finding out about myself.
Are you? How much?
I mean, I'm through your eyes, which is interesting because you can look at yourself, but how other people look at you may vary from person to person to person. So you can't live for that. Yeah. Right? You got to kind of do it.
You told me earlier today you don't think you're interesting. I don't really believe that. I think you know you're interesting, but you are just so humble.
Well, I think I've had an interesting life, and I've had some opportunities to be some places and with some people and do some things that I would not have had an opportunity to do were I not a journalist, or were I not my father's daughter. I've been some places where I'm like, dang, am I actually here with Sidney Poitier? Am I actually here? At the inauguration, am I here when the White Sox win the pennant? But that's what being a reporter, has afforded me.
Tell me a little bit more about one of those moments, whether it's the inauguration or it is Sidney Poitier or someone else, and just what made you realize and sit in, yes, I am here and I feel like blank.
So it felt like a privilege. Sometimes you're working so hard and so fast that you don't recognize the privilege. When Sidney Poitier came to be honored by the Chicago International Film Festival, this is 20-some years ago, and I was on their Black Perspectives Committee, which they no longer have, but we will talk about that for another whole entire show. And they knew that I knew him because my father's written 2 books with him. Because remember, West Coast editor of Ebony back in the 60s, is because of Black Hollywood was burgeoning. It was Sidney Poitier, Bill Cosby, Red Fox, who's one still fine and still alive, and he's 90. Come on.
Still fine.
Hey, Dale. Come on. Somebody help me. What's his name? Harry Belafonte. Yeah,
there we
go. To me. A little bird told me. So Nancy Wilson, those people kind of in his circle. And my father was the kind of reporter that everybody he interviewed realized that he was just an authentic guy and he was not starstruck. And he became friends with so many people. But also at that time, a Black star, that was a new and emerging species. So, for them to actually be able to talk to a Black reporter for a Black publication, meant something to them. But anyway, so they said, will you ask him if he'll accept a Lifetime Achievement Award? I said, okay. So I called him and asked him, Sidney Poitier. Okay. And he said, well, my dear, because he was very formal, I don't generally accept Lifetime Achievement Awards, as it seems to indicate your lifetime is over. And I said, okay, but as you are Louis Robinson's daughter, and you are asking me to do this, and he did it. And he came with an entourage of one. Bernie Casey, who was his dear friend, and he stayed in a hotel under his own name, and he was the most humble, this man was amazing. So, and because it was not work related, right? It was part of what I did as a volunteer. I got to really sit back and enjoy that and see real class and kind of, later I understand how historic it was, but at the time even I understood that it was a moment. I mean, he was interviewed by Lyndon Johnson Rice from Johnson Publishing Company. He got serenaded a cappella by Jennifer Hudson, who sang "To Sir with Love" to him on stage, and he was surprised, didn't know it was going to happen. So that kind of thing, I realized that the reason I was on the Black Perspectives Committee of the Chicago International Film Festival was because I was a newscaster. Right, so one thing led to another. The reason my father knew Sidney Poitier is because he was a reporter, a journalist, who Sidney had come to trust and respect so much that he actually asked my dad to help him write his 2 books. So it was all, in hindsight, it grows more important in my mind. But by the time, it was damn fun anyway. So that's a story I haven't shared with anybody that much. I might go find some video for you of that.
Please, I would love that. That's legendary. And
it was. Now I realize
it's legendary. And I think it's so funny because as you're talking, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I didn't meet you on a stage. I've yet to give you your Lifetime Achievement Award. It's coming.
I'm not old enough.
But we got time. We have more than enough time. But it makes me think about just the feeling that you're describing. While it was a totally different setting, it makes me think about when I met you. And so I think a story that I haven't really told many people, I met you because of one of your best friends. And it's a story about a lady at a bar, which is so funny to me.
That's right, 2 black women walking to a bar.
Listen, right? And I'm actually there with one of my friends, Jarrell. He's a social butterfly. At the time, me not so much. And it was cool. Like, Dee, I love her. Thank you, Dee, if you see this. Love her to death. And she just casually mentioned, she reels me into the conversation. What do you do? And I get to telling her about it. She's like, oh my God, I have a friend who wants to start a podcast. You should meet her. You may know her, Robin Robinson. And I'm like, of course I know who Robin Robinson is, but I play it cool. I'm like, yeah, I've heard of her, I've seen her in the news a time or two. Yeah. I give her daughter my information. I follow up, cool. And then I run into you all at Art Expo. And I remember walking up to you, and I was nervous. I don't know if you could tell, but I remember walking up, and I was so shocked at how easily you gave me your phone number. And I was like, oh, this lady's legit. I just knew you was about to put me through hoops. I did. Hey, maybe I'm traumatized from other things, but I just knew I was going to have to do something or set up a call, and it was just great.
Well, you had done the thing already. You had already met Dee Dee.
Yeah.
Right? And let me tell you how funny things work. Dee Dee said, oh, she wants to do a podcast. I did not. She wanted me to do a podcast. And other people said, you ought to do a podcast. And I kept looking at them saying, I don't even know what language you're speaking. I said, I can sit down and talk. You get somebody else to do the cast and the pod. All right. And so that's what she was thinking, was to connect me with a producer. This is the producer's cut, right?
This is producer's cut.
So people didn't understand that the producer's the one that makes it happen.
Yes.
I love how you young people these days don't have such well-defined roles. Like, the camera person could also have a comment on editorial, right? Talent can talk about, production values and things they'd like to have. Back in the day,
I was going to ask, back in the day,
you had to sit in your space. Now, of course, I was very non-compliant, but there was a definite hierarchy. But the producer is the one who makes sure it gets done. I can't tell you how many ideas and projects, and we're going to do this, and people even might take a couple notes. It doesn't happen unless somebody makes sure it happens. There are film projects that have gotten funding to get started that just never finished. So you as a producer, first of all, you're fabulous as a producer. The details that you keep track of it's mind-boggling, and you have total ego out of it. I did recently have someone say to me once during a taping, as the actual producer, I have a vision. And I thought, there's too many people in here for me to tell you what I really think about you and your vision. But you were very collaborative. And you weren't always telling the other people what to do. You did during our podcast, but you do the work. And that's what makes it happen. Otherwise, it's just an idea.
Absolutely. And we want to go from idea to execution and make it a reality.
How about that?
And it's so funny sitting in this reality with you. At the beginning of this, in the intro, I called you my hero. I don't know if you remember when we were actively working on the podcast. After our very first taping, and I thought it was so cool. You invited all your girlfriends, and we're standing around. Like, one thing I will say, you have reignited my love for partying, and in a healthy way. Like, yes, you have told me, take the stick out my butt.
We are having a show where we're drinking wine, okay?
We toast a little wine and take a sip, but it makes me think about, I just remember standing in that room. And I think it was Marianne. And I just looked at her and I thanked her for being in the space with us. And I told her directly how you restored my confidence in my ability to do my job.
Oh my.
Single-handedly.
Oh my.
I will give no one else credit.
I'm glad I didn't
that.
know that at the time. That's too much
why
pressure.
You think you're my hero?
That's too much pressure.
Well, girl, you done did it now. No. What's the pressure for? It's done.
If I had known it at the time, I can't fail because then her life is over, right?
No.
But really, your talent comes through, and then part of it is knowing what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
Being willing to ask questions. Dee Dee's curiosity, getting to, well, what do you do? That's her nature. She should have probably been a reporter, right? A storyteller.
At least a professional connector.
Right.
Something.
Exactly, because she has a genuine care for people, right? And you want people that you like to get with other people that you like, especially when there's some symbiotic thing that could happen. I don't believe in networking in the transactional sense.
Okay.
A lot of people are, let me go find somebody that's doing what I want to do and network with them. But I think it needs to be a little more authentic and organic than that. I know that's easy to say because it can be hard to get into a space where that can happen. Mm-hmm. But you could be disappointed if you run down somebody that's doing what you want to do in hopes of making a connection with them. When you actually get to them, it might not be what you hope for.
So I'm hearing focus on the connection in general.
Yeah.
Just connect with people organically. Don't worry about what you can get from them.
Exactly.
Get to know them, and what maybe you can get will come from that.
Yeah. Because it might not be them, it might be someone they know. But if you make an authentic connection, like I like your vibe. We seem to, you're my kind of person, kind of a thing, as opposed to, you're the kind of person that has the car I want. Okay, so. Because I do know that networking is a thing, and it is a tactic, and it is. I'm not saying
there's
it's
strategy
not important,
to it,
but there's a strategy to it. But be authentic. Like, don't like somebody that you don't like just because you like what they do.
To that point, I want to go back to you saying a genuine care for people. That you mentioned that in reference to Dee Dee, but it makes me think about you and how you genuinely care for people, but you also genuinely care to tell stories of substance. And when I think about, I think I said that in the intro too, your dedication to telling stories that impact community. Being that you were on Fox News and you've done so much.
Let me stop you real quick. There is a difference between Fox News and Fox Chicago. Fox News started 10 years after we started Fox Chicago. Okay, in fact, it started out as Fox 32, right?
Yes.
Because that's where it was on the channel. Can you imagine a TV station being on Channel 32? But that's what we had. So go ahead.
But Fox Chicago, you were on Fox Chicago. Thank you for the clarification.
And there's a huge difference if you watch.
Oh no, there is. I think anyone who knows
maybe not as much as there used to be, but there's still.
But anyone who knows you should know that there is some certain networks I wouldn't see you on. I would be very shocked. I'll say that.
Whoa.
Yeah. So to that point, just thinking about the type of reporting you did and being in a space that could be more structured. But I know you to be very free-spirited. To your point, you mentioned it yourself, you're kind of a rebel. What was that experience like? How did you make sure to still show up as your authentic self behind that anchor desk every day in a room that is kind of powered by a larger machine where you really don't have that much control?
So I think people have more control than they think. It doesn't mean that you can come in and call the shots every day.
Yeah.
It also means you kind of have to earn the attention, right? I'm not just proposing this because I want to be at the start of something. I'm smart, right? And I've done things. I've brought things to the table, stories, exclusives, etc., and news judgment, and you got to prove that over a period of time. I think if I went back, there are some things I would have liked to have done differently. I don't think I paid enough attention to nurturing the other few Black people there were in the newsroom, right? So I don't know if I recognized the need. You always, and there are things in the news spectrum in the space that I didn't pay the right kind of attention to, that I kind of said, oh, that's not going to be important, right? I remember Barack Obama, when he first was running for office, they had a breakfast just for Black members of the media. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I'm not sure that that's that's a thing you should be doing. I mean, it's not, imagine if a white candidate had a breakfast for just white members of the media, right? But it's apples and oranges.
Yeah.
I realize now. As it turned out, I couldn't go anyway, but just I was not sure that I should go. And of course I should go, right? Because of course we are going to know more than the white media members. Yeah. Even those who want to be as fair as possible, because they're taking it through the context of their own lives and what they've seen Black people do, and none of it had nothing to do with being president. Okay, so and we understand why not, kind of intrinsically as Black reporters. You're not a reporter, then you're Black. Now I realize I'm Black, then I'm a reporter. So
what caused that shift for you? What helped you to see, like, no, I'm Black first, and it is okay?
Once I gained some power in my newsroom, I was at that station for 27 years. Yeah. I realized there were a lot of things that were not happening. That were happening without me noticing. Right? I can, you can't do the show, anchor the show, and put the show together, and write all of it, etc. But there were things that were subtle that needed changing. So I remember when Jesse Jackson came to all the newsrooms and came to our editorial meeting and announced that we are not just going to be Black people anymore. We're going to be African American. This is in the 80s, and we're thinking African American, 7 syllables, right? But we're
say that on camera for the news.
Seconds in these. I got a 25-second VO, and it can't be 28 seconds. It can't be so. And the people in that editorial meeting were respectful, but skeptical. And when he left, it was like, oh, that ain't never going to happen. What the hell do they know? Okay, so everybody says it just fine now. And it also, as I pointed out, even at the time, I said, now we have an alternative. Okay, it's not just Black, African American. We like to be a thesaurus of words, right? Yeah. So that I have other words to say the same thing in a respectful way. It's, I guess back in the day, they could say Negro and colored. Now we say neither. So what do things do evolve, language, perspectives. At one time, a sense of justice. I don't know that it's evolving now, or if it is, it's evolving in the wrong direction. So.
Well, I wish we'd be here all night if we dug deep into that. But I kind of want to touch it a bit.
Got?
Listen, no. We can get more Instacart or whatever's a thing. Sponsor us. No. But to that point, and just thinking about tapping into it, when you talk about social justice, when you talk about the switch for you and realizing, okay, I have a little bit more power now. I need to move differently. I need to help the people around me. There's a factor to that involves truth telling, that involves you having to say the things that people don't want to hear, saying the hard things out loud. Outside of that power, I don't know if it was courage. I'd like to assume that it's courage. What was it that fueled you to just be so passionate about truth telling?
So many lies, right? You can't.
Because the lies are societal norms. So you're going against the grain.
But in news, it was not.
Okay.
People in news actually thought they were telling the truth, and they were telling the truth as they knew it and saw it, but without a historical context that was truthful. We were, especially in television news, it's so immediate. Yeah. You can pick up a newspaper and get all kind of context. Because if you read that newspaper article out loud, it would take you 7 minutes, and you don't have 7 minutes for a story in the news. Now, I've done 7 and 11 minutes in long. I did a lot of long form reporting, which was a battle. But afterwards, even those I battled with, my editors, et cetera, said it was worth it, right? So sometimes to go a little deeper. And it's funny because you said you described me as fearless earlier. I am not fearless. So. You're afraid, and you do it anyway, right? So that's otherwise it would be easy, right? So if you do the things that you're afraid of, I did a couple of personal things. I did a story about my oldest brother, my older brother. I have 2 twin brothers older than him, who died of AIDS because he was a heroin addict for more than half his life. Yeah. And that was actually a news director who convinced me to do that, because I said, what people care about. Me and my family, right? I'm just like anybody else. That just seems very self-serving. She said, the whole point is you just like anyone else. And we were in an epidemic, and I've never had a story get more response from more people than that story. People sent me pictures of their loved ones. They sent me, it was I can't even describe it. They sent me poetry. They sent me, it was, and they were in disbelief. I can't believe it happened in your family, as if it was something wrong with their
royal
family.
And regal,
well, as if there was something wrong. And of course now, later on, we find out all that heroin was dropped into Black communities. Okay, it was not an accident.
Yeah.
It was not just these young people gone astray. So the historical context becomes more and more important, and I think that's why you have more and more efforts to try to suppress history. But I think it's too late. The barn door is open, and these young people can find anything they want. And if you try to hide it from them, they're going to try harder to find it. I love a banned book. Bet you it's getting read more than it ever did before it was banned. Yeah. So, but it is not by mistake that much of our history has been distorted or outright lied about.
Not at all, but you taking the leap to talk about such sensitive subjects, and I can't speak for your family, but I can speak for my own. In typical Black families, those topics are taboo. You don't talk about.
That's the problem.
You don't talk about health and drug use and addiction outside of this house. That's our business,
you
right?
You don't talk about the domestic violence that goes on in this house.
You don't talk about the rape and the molestation. Nope, just let Uncle Joey do whatever. And it's
just don't leave the kids alone with Uncle so-and-so. Yeah.
Tell her put an extra shirt on, or just tell them stop being a pedophile. Okay. There's no happy medium. Mm-hmm. And I say that to say, go ahead. You want to say something?
I was going to go back.
No, go for
me
it.
in history. Me in history.
Come on,
so
give it to me.
If we want to talk about that and think about our history and where that kind of savagery involving sexual misconduct actually came from and started and was systemic and was constant in every family, in every woman's life, in every man's life for 17 generations. We don't want to talk about that, though.
We don't.
And
honestly, the part of me that's always fighting for fairness, to be fair, I think most people don't even know it to talk about it. You don't know what you don't know.
Well, that's over now. Didn't you know? It happened so long ago. Why do you keep bringing it up? So, which is, the mantra that has been told to us forever.
It's the problem. But I think I reference all that to say, you taking that leap, that's the power in truth telling, because there are people out there that needed to know this happens in other families, and you're not isolated, you're not lesser than. This is an unfortunate reality for so many. But it also makes me think and wonder about if truth telling has ever cost you anything that you didn't think that it would.
You mean like the time I killed Santa Claus?
Maybe, y'all.
I did kill Santa Claus, but what can I say?
How does that go over your house?
A white man with a big beard gonna come down your chimney and leave no presents. Just not gonna happen. Okay, so
wait, so your kids never believed in Santa?
That they did until somebody told them about something they did.
Somebody else did.
I said no. The kid said. I said, "Excuse me, I'm Santa Claus." But Santa Claus was not something that we
not even Black
perpetrated
Santa?
in my house. No, it was Santa Claus is a symbol of the adults in your life who care for you enough to get you things for Christmas.
Yeah.
Because I was in a first grade class, and I used to have a mentoring program for girls at an elementary school in Inglewood, and I went to the first grade teacher asked me to come. It was Christmas time, and I'm like, these kids don't know who Robin Robinson is, but okay, I'll come fit their class. And she was reading them a book, and Santa Claus was in it, and when she mentioned Santa Claus, and he got him in the chimney, the kids go, Santa Claus ain't getting in my house. I mean, they were vehement. They were like, they were absolutely against the whole idea. And I realized that for many children, Santa Claus is a tragedy. They tell you if you're good, you'll get what you want. That's not true.
Yeah.
All right, you've been good, you've been trying, you've been resisting temptation, and Christmas morning come, you didn't get that bike because couldn't nobody get it for you.
Yeah.
And I killed Santa Claus. I didn't kill the concept of there being a real Santa Claus. We were doing a story about Santa School. Mm-hmm. And this was, I know when it was because it was during a downturn, 2009. We were in a recession. Mm-hmm. They don't want to call anything a depression anymore. And they were actually training the Santas to mitigate the expectations of the young people that sat on their lap, because the parents were in the background going, no, don't tell him he's going to get that. He's not going to get that. So
Yikes.
To me, the mirror was already broken. All right, so we did that story, and then I said, well, I think we ought to stop telling this lie. And it wasn't on the 10 o'clock news, so little kids shouldn't have been watching. But apparently they were, because the parents were beside themselves. They called. Thank God there was no real internet back then. They would have broke the internet. They called mad, and she this and she that and the other, blah blah.
Robin Robinson killed Santa Claus.
I killed him.
Yikes.
But anyway, so but the thing is, that night when I got off the air, my news director said, that was great. That's exactly the kind of heartfelt commentary, off the cuff, from the heart, blah, blah. It was fabulous. And then all those calls came in. The next morning, she's like, I don't know what you were thinking. I'm like, are you the same person who talked to me last night? So I realized then, you got to be your own barometer.
You do.
But every Christmas, there's some man in Indiana that brings up that clip on the internet, and as if it just happened. Is very strange.
You think he was one of the kids that
I don't know. He's too old. I just think he found a way to get some likes, and that's how. That's how he does it. But that's
well,
right.
I want to touch on a couple of things before we wrap up. You mentioned your house. We've talked about your kids. I know how much you love your grandbaby.
You mean the most beautiful, smartest child in the world
ever?
You mean? Okay.
And it's so cute how she already has boundaries, and she's only this tall. Because when I just saw her, she's like, I'm out of people skills for today. Like, not even skills, but out of people energy. I got my grandma.
Tired.
I don't need nobody. You look nice. I'm not gonna be mean, but I'm not talking to you, lady. And all I could do is respect it. I wish I had that at her age. And it makes me think, with you having such a prestigious career, when you were becoming a mother, was it scary for you at all? I know there was this stigma that just women couldn't do both. You got to pick. If it was scary, how'd you navigate that? And if it wasn't,
if I'd had to pick, I would just be a mother.
Really?
It was very clear that was in my. That's what I wanted. Mm-hmm. I knew what I wanted. I actually thought, and I think for people who don't want to have kids, that is just fine. I love people to be aware of what their passion is. Right? Don't have kids because somebody else said so. That's awful. But I kind of felt like that was essential to my reason for being, is to raise kids in a way they would be smart, where they would contribute to the world, even if it didn't have to be a big contribution, right? It could be just that little square house that you've got. This a safe space. It could be. Doesn't have to be. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to be. But just to contribute to the world with your spirit. What I didn't factor in was that it would be difficult to be my child in Chicago, because Chicago really does pay attention to its news, or it did at the time. Right now everything's fractured. They got little news and 44 streaming services. So it was hard to be Robin Robinson's kid on some level, right? And they only tell me that now that they're grown. Okay, it's but I never, I think celebrity is a disease. I think that it's, and I think,
tell me more.
Well, look at how
people think you're a celebrity,
and I don't.
You are. I think you are.
I don't.
I know you don't.
But you are. I'm well known, okay, because I was on TV for every night for 3 decades or whatever.
Semantics.
But exactly. But look at how many of their families are messed up. I mean, tragedies with their.
Yeah.
I haven't done any study, but it does seem like it's disproportionately impacting the mental health of their children. And we look at. I'm not going to name any names because I don't even believe in naming the names of celebrities. Okay, even if they're grown now, right? It's and people follow them forever. So and so's kid, they're 40-some years old, right? But you're still writing stories about their drug and alcohol problems or what have you. So I think that we got to get over some people being famous and that being a thing that you worship. I mean, I admire people that do things, and like I used to wonder, what exactly is it the Kardashians did to become famous besides have a reality TV show? But now they're showing themselves to be very good business people, and they have causes.
Excellent,
and,
actually.
Do your thing. I don't.
Yeah.
But the celebrity as a thing, and all the stuff that comes with it, I think is pretty detrimental. They don't wish to be rich and famous, just wish to be rich.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Speaking my language in my life. I made that face, though, because when you say what brought them their fame, I mean, arguably the sex tape, the infamous sex tape.
And now you can have all the sex tapes you want. Nobody pays attention. Okay,
Twitter is basically porn, I've heard. I'm not on Twitter these days, but that's a a story for a different day with more wine.
Okay.
Listen, it sure didn't.
Leaving Twitter.
It did not.
We need our own Twitter. Not Twitter. We need our own. I've gone to Threads. I've gone on Blue Sky. But where's the black-owned social media site.
Yeah.
It must be someone with the Black-owned airlines and the Black-owned hotels and the Black-owned yacht companies. And
that's that Blackness.
It must be somewhere there, right?
It has to be. Let's find it.
Let's make it.
You know, every time you come up with something, you ask me a question, I'm like, let's do it. I mean it. You mentioned a lot about just the conversations that we do avoid and how that's problematic, or different topics, essentially. And it could be for my generation, it could be for younger, but just anyone coming behind you, after you. What conversation do you think we're avoiding that we need to be having?
The conversation about the end of our rights. I mean, I think we are entirely distracted. We could scroll ourselves into, there's probably some sort of thing going on where people come into emergency rooms with their eyes going like this because they've been scrolling all day. Letting the world pass you by because there are so many interesting and distracting things, so many shiny objects. I mean, I get to watch those reels sometimes, and I'm laughing so hard that I understand, right? That, and I think it's, it's good and fun to, admire interesting content, but news is important. The real news is important. And there's a very large, so this is not my concept. This is a woman I met recently. Her name is Isosa Osa. And she does research into communications and reaching Black people. There is a news avoidant river that is 10 times as large as the news attracted river. So while we're looking at everything that happens, every court ruling, every UFC fight on the White House grounds, whatever it might be, every 300,000 Black women losing their jobs. We're looking at all that, and I think the people that avoid that the reason is because they think I can't do anything about it. I don't believe they don't care. I don't believe they're apathetic. It's because they think, what can I do?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to amuse myself over here and hope everything turns out okay. And it's not going to turn out okay if we don't pay attention and actually get together to be moved to collective action. In this country, everything major that's happened, that's good, has been pushed by Black people. There would be no public education. Women and non-landowning white people wouldn't be able to vote. Okay, we pushed for that. Yeah. We pushed. I mean, you look at the Civil Rights Act. They added women to that at the last minute. Strom Thurmond did it because he said, they'll never pass it now. They passed it anyway, and women have benefited from it way more than Black people. But we're the ones that pushed it. So why did Illinois have voting 7 years before the federal government had women voting? We had women voting because Ida B. Wells. Okay, I mean, so we have to, and whatever we do is going to help everybody else, but we cannot turn our head to something else. And I'm not saying devote your life to it or anything like that. I still have a good time. I'm still having a barbecue. Okay, so it's
we're still gonna party.
We're still gonna party because joy is an act of resistance.
Absolutely.
And so don't let anything take your joy, but and seek it actively. I really believe in that. But you can't just let the world pass you by. And I know it's hard to know what to believe, but it's not that hard.
So it makes me wonder, joy is an act of resistance. We talked about courage, fearlessness, or the presence of fear, and just simply overcoming it, having the hard conversations, defying stigma, just pushing boundaries. That, for most people, if I were to ask them, what gives you the strength or the power to do that, or where do you channel it? 9 times out of 10, they're gonna say God. You're an atheist. So where does it come from for you?
What's the alternative?
You tell me.
That's what I'm saying. It comes from this, what I have to do, right? Gotcha. I mean, what is the alternative? I'm here on this.
You're not gonna succumb to it.
Everything's working so far. Okay, there's a few breakdowns here and there.
I think you're doing pretty damn good.
Working. So I mean, really, because it's part of the joy, right? It's part of the joy. You have to, you have to do things that mean things, and sometimes you have to do things that just mean I'm having fun. Like I'm 6 Trump. That's just joy.
Come on, Bill. Okay. Come on, Bill.
Right? So
where's the next one? I want to come.
You want to come?
I do.
Cindy, for those of you who don't know, she was one. We have pros and proteges. She was a protege in our Bidwist collective.
I think I was just having a lucky night.
Girl, you won the whole thing.
I know
though.
the whole. I need that little money too. Thank y'all.
Tell people we're gambling. They're gonna come.
Oh,
they're gonna come get us.
Just kidding. All jokes.
Whatever.
All
All
jokes.
to charity. But
Absolutely.
But you know why I wanted to have that is because I feel like young people, you included, y'all had gone to spades because it was easier than Bidwist, but it's not our game. Bidwist is our game.
See, we don't have to have a part 2 because I want to ask so bad. You say. We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about camera. But I have so many questions about that. Before we get out of here, Robin Robinson's having a tough day. She turns on the song to feel better. What's the song?
Oh, shoot. There's so many songs. What's the song? Well, you know my ringtone is Grazing in the Grass by Hugh Masekela.
No. I don't think I've ever heard your phone ring.
Somebody should call me. But anyway, my ringer's off. Just because it's so upbeat. Just about anything by Stevie Wonder. Who is a perfect example of musical genius and a heart for the people. There's a documentary coming out, not about Stevie's life. That one's not out yet.
Yeah.
It hasn't been done yet. It hasn't been chosen yet. But Stevie's getting up there. But that's why we have a King Holiday. It's because of Stevie Wonder.
Okay.
That song is not just a birthday song.
Yeah.
Okay, so even though I love that it's taken over the birthday song, because the original birthday song is so slow and sad. But I'm trying to think of what else.
We found another act of joy.
I like so much Santana. I like I like Nancy Wilson. Is there one song that just brings me out of a funk?
Maybe it's the playlist.
You'll love this. Blue Eyed Soul, Tina Marie. Just about all of it.
Okay.
just about all of it. Phyllis Hyman, who was a dear friend of mine and sings like your heart feels it when she sings.
You got some pretty cool friends.
Yeah, but I have a very long list of songs that I can.
We'll make the playlist, share with me.
Okay, I will.
I feel like it'll be another asset so that I can brag to the world that Robin Robinson has given me.
And I know with you as the talent on the producer's cut. I'm sure you'll. Yes, I know. How's that feel?
Not as bad as I thought it would. Okay. Maybe it's because I'm with you. But
you got to let go. You got to let your production team do.
Oh, they're
things.
great.
They are.
Any questions I ask have nothing to do with them. It's a me thing.
Because they putting up with you trying to control this stuff. Okay. Aren't they? Aren't y'all? So.
I thought you were on my side.
I am on your side.
Okay. So, that's why you're telling me the hard thing.
I like.
That's why you're telling me the truth. Thank you, Robin Robinson. I love you. And I am just forever honored. We'll have to do this again sometime. I kind of wish, I feel like this was a very necessary history lesson, not just about you and your life, but of the things that all generations need to hear. But we're going to have a part 2 and we're going to have some more fun.
Okay. All right.
What was it? Truth, Fun, Blackness. Those are the pillars of In Other News.
That was our podcast.
That was In Other News with Robin Robinson.
In Other News.
So we'll figure something out.
Brought to you by Cindy Beasley, producer extraordinaire.
I love you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Producers, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Over here, it gets real on Producer's Cut. So tell a friend to tell a friend.